Good morning and welcome to the Growth, Infrastructure and Waste Committee, the first one for 2021 on the 11th of February 2021. First item is to call council attendance, and I can see we have everyone in attendance, and good morning, and good morning to you, CEO. We have zero apologies. So move on to the declarations of interest in matters on the agenda, and at this stage I've not been advised of any conflicts, but does anyone have any conflicts or declarations of interest that they'd like to put forward? No, thank you very much. Business outstanding, there is nil. So you go on to the confirmation of the minutes. May I have someone move the minutes from the previous GRW? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. And seconded. Thank you, Councillor Megan. I now open those minutes up for any discussion or corrections. There being none, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you, and it's unanimous. Move on to officers' reports. So item 2 is the contract variation report, extension of contract 1340 curbside recycling. We've got that motion up there, Vicky. It's a recommendation that Council resolves to extend the contract with Visi Paper for household recycling for a period of up to 10 months with an additional cost of $805,500 GST exclusive under the same terms and conditions of the current agreement. And it's also asking for the CEO to be able to authorise and finalise those final terms. May I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Johnnick.
Sorry to interrupt, Mayor Harding. I just had the stream cut out. I'll just have to get you to start again in a moment.
Well, I won't be starting again, but I'll pause. I'll just have an adjournment for. Please set your name and your title.
Richard White, Manager of Procurement.
Thank you. Mr. White, could you explain why we're extending this particular contract?
Yep, so we've had this, it was a 1 year with a 1 year extension, so we commenced that in 2019. Due to circumstances at the time, getting that in place, we are essentially asking for an extra 10 months to continue work on finding a longer term solution for this, including work with the Sub-Regional Waste Alliance to find a different solution or to continue with this solution. We'll make that decision, bring that to Council for decision.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions of Mr. White? Thank you, Mr. White.
Thank you.
I'll now open the matter up for discussion. There being no discussion, I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you. We now move on to item 3, which is the Infrastructure and Environment Division Capital Portfolio Financial Performance Report for December 2020. And this motion is that the monthly financial performance report on the Infrastructure and Environment Department's capital portfolio budget for 2020-2021 be received and the contents noted. May I please have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Fechner. And a seconder, Councillor Kunzelman. Thank you very much. May I ask for the relevant council officer to come to the lectern, please?
Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Jeff Keach, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you. Now, Steve, I know we've discussed this in briefings, but I think it's probably important to show that we are having a variation here. So we look like an underspend and an under-delivering of our capital works program. Could you please outline some of the savings as well as the delays that are being experienced?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, the report outlines, in line with what previously went to Council, that in terms of the forecast expenditure against the total capital program of a movement of about $14.2 million in total for the IED program, down from the sort of budget of $86 million. There's a couple of main reasons for that. There are savings, specifically they're identified at the moment of about $5 million. $4 million related to the sealed road program in relation to the contract rates, what was estimates versus actuals, and some contract savings in relation to something like the Small Creek program. In addition to that, there are projects where the timing of delivery is deferring, so where it was originally estimated that it would be the $4 or $5 million worth of savings in that area.
So the sealed road rehab, it says it's a variance of 4.7 I mean, are you saying that's not an under-delivery? That's a
Primarily,
saving?
the majority of that savings, there will be, as far as I understand from the program, there's a couple of works like Sutton Road where the rehabilitation won't occur this year and will flow over into the next year. But there's probably, I understand, about 2 projects, Brisbane Road and South Station Road, that will move into deferred works in that
Right.
area. But primarily, yes, the $4 million is the savings in the
Okay.
works. Yep.
I note with the parks rehabilitation, there's a 1.8 million, and is that Sutton's
That's Sutton
grant?
Park, yes.
Now, the state government,
But again, delays are resulting in that moving back into the next financial year.
if anything's threatening that grant money, would you please
Yep,
raise
sure,
that
we'll
with
make sure
us?
that gets raised back with you straight away.
Thank you. I know in particular,
No.
there was a, Councillor Cosman, Councillor Milligan, there was the petition from Jim Madden about this particular park.
Yeah.
And probably the other one is street furniture rehabilitation.
Yes.
Looks to be $1.4 million.
Yeah, the majority of that, about 1.2 million, relates to Trevor Street rehabilitation, and that's a multi-year project. So again, it's a timing delay. It will occur. It's just time in relation to that one. So primarily, it's the one project, Trevor Street.
Okay. And lastly, the natural, looking under Park Sports Environment on page 139,
Yep.
natural environment stormwater, 1.2 million, is that, what is it, it's a savings?
About 800,000 of that, I think, from memory, is savings related to the Small Creek tender
Right.
process that occurred from there.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So are there any other questions of the CFO? Thank you very much, Harrison. Thank you.
Okay, thanks
CFO.
very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
I'll open this up for discussion now, noting that we get a great deal of calls. I know Deputy Mayor and Councillor Fitt and the other councils too for all that asset rehabilitation in our traditional and our established suburbs. So I think it's really important that we do keep an eye on that capital works program to make sure that we are actually delivering on that program.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any other discussion? No. I'll put that report to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you. Move on to item 4, which is the Ipswich Inner CBD Cycle Network Corridor Plan. I propose that we move all 5 of those recommendations, A through to E, together, if there's no objection. I ask for who would like to move this motion. Thank you, Councillor Fichtner. Seconder, Councillor Kunzelman, thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this? No? I'll then open the matter up for discussion. No discussion. I just think it's wonderful to see things progress when it comes to the corridor plan for our cycling network in the CBD. It's long overdue, and I get asked about it regularly by residents when I'm out and about, so thank you very much. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you very much. We move on to item 5. The Community CAT Program, the Rosewood Pilot. And the recommendation is that Council receive and note the report on the Community CAT Program, Rosewood Pilot. May I please have a mover for that? Thank you, Councillor Milligan. And a seconder, Councillor Kunzelman. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this report? No? I'll then open it up for discussion. Would anyone like to make any points on the program?
Yes, Mayor. I have received correspondence late yesterday from Emeritus Professor Dr. Jackie Rand, who has championed the program. And as they are transitioning into from the Rosewood pilot and extending further across Ipswich, they're now undertaking the program in the suburb of Goodna, and they have been inundated with requests from the community for the services, particularly for the desexing of cats. They are also receiving large volumes from across the city, including other specific areas such as Brassel, where there clearly are high populations of stray cats and residents who do take in stray cats, and due to various reasons, want to utilise the services of the free program. So I believe it's something that council should further look at in terms of how best we can support our community for the great outcomes that this program is providing.
Thank you, Councillor. I do note that the Australian Pet Welfare Foundation did this out of their own costs. It didn't cost council money. And I thought it was quite interesting because when it did come to us before, it was my understanding it was more looking at stray cats and dissecting them and putting them back out. I think there was a bit of consternation about that. But I think a big financial burden removed from families. Any other discussion points?
If I may, Mayor?
Yes, please,
So
Councillor.
some of the major resulting outcomes that are being achieved is with the desexing program, there's also the community education that's provided by Australian Pet Welfare Foundation in terms of how best to manage particularly felines in their local environment, the things that as a responsible pet owner should be undertaken. And due to the desexing program, it will end up leading to the fact that there will be less breeding of cats that may end up as stray out in the natural environment within our community.
Thank you very much, Councillor William. Any other discussion points? Thank you. Then I'll put that motion to the floor. Those in favour, please raise your hand. And I see it's unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, which is the Planning and Environment Court Actions Status Report. The recommendation is that the report be received and contents noted. May I have a mover, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jonick. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on the court action status reports? No? I then open up for discussion. There being no discussion, I then move that the report be received and the contents noted. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Move on to item 7, which is the exercise of delegation report. This is a report concerning applications that have been determined by delegated authority for the period of 23rd of November 2020 to the 21st of January 2021. The recommendation is that the report be received and the contents noted. May I please have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Kunzelman. And a seconder, Councillor Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer on this report? No? I'll then open up for discussion. There being no discussion, I'll move on to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. It's carried. It's unanimous. Item 8, which is a notice of motion, exemption for waste collection fee, Perga Aboriginal Cemetery. And it's a motion brought forward by Councillor Sheila Ireland. And that motion is that council investigate providing an exemption for the waste collection fee for the Perga Aboriginal Cemetery located on Carmichael's Road, Perga, and provide a report back to the next Growth, Infrastructure and Waste Committee meeting to be held on the 11th of March 2021. So I'll take it that you've moved that, Councillor Ireland. And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Madsen. I'll hand over to you, Councillor Ireland, to speak to.
The Perga Aboriginal Cemetery.
Sorry, Councillor Ireland, could you turn your... and start again. Thank you.
The Perga Aboriginal Cemetery is a reserve and the trustee of the property of the Perga elders and descendants of the Aboriginal Corporation. Now, council doesn't provide bins in the Hardings paddock, so we expect the people who go in and camp or caravan there bring their rubbish out, and they bring it as far as the cemetery and throw it on the footpath or into the cemetery. And so the elders are out there every week picking up. So they do have a bin there that at some stage council has tried to help, but now it has come to their attention. They've been told that they will have to pay the waste fee. Right. So I'm just wondering if we would look at, seeing that it is a Crown land and is held in trust, that we would look at an exemption for waste bin collection, please.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Ireland. I'll open it up for any discussion. No, I think it's a great motion. I look forward to the report if it passes. Those in favour of this motion, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Now move on to item number 9 from Councillor Andrew Fechner, and that's a notice of motion on overgrown council parks, reserves and footpaths. And this is a notice of motion submitted by Councillor Andrew Fechner concerning overgrown council parks, reserves and footpaths. I'll probably get you to move it, Councillor Fechner.
Yeah, and
And before we, and then I'll get you to speak to it. So you'll move that, and a seconder
just to clarify that I'll be moving A, B and C.
together?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I see that Councillor Fechner has moved it, and a seconder was, I think, Councillor Milligan. Thank you. I'll let you, if you want to read out the motion and speak to it.
Yeah, so
Councillor.
just by way of background, over the last several weeks, significant community concerns have been raised about the overgrown conditions of many council parks, reserves and footpaths following recent rain. It's appreciated that Ipswich has experienced a relatively wet summer, and it is acknowledged that council staff have worked diligently to mow and maintain parks across the city. However, it's important that council endeavour to ensure that during high growth periods, our open spaces are maintained to a level which meets community expectations in a cost-effective manner. It's obviously apparent to all of us that sit around the table this morning based on the huge influx of correspondence from constituents and the outcry that the level of service wasn't meeting community expectations this summer. So in those recommendations there are some very pointed and specific questions asked so that we around this table can better understand what goes into this and how we improve our service for next summer. And that initial motion A, to try and just clear that backlog, to identify where those constraints are, those bottlenecks are in the current program, to clear those, and then to look forward to the future to see what we can do better moving forward.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fechner. I'll now, would anyone like to speak to the relevant council officer? No? I'll then open it up for discussion. Councillor Ireland.
Mayor, I had a phone call from a resident of Redbank Plains yesterday. She said that she's got a petition with 900 names on it. There's a huge Facebook page down there that they're saying people are out mowing themselves because their children can't walk on footpaths. It seems that Redbank Plains may be at the end of the line, so the grass is fairly long, but certainly would hope that we're going to get Redbank Plains at least whippersnip fairly soon. The Facebook page is alive and well, and they're not taking the argument that we're doing the best and that there's been rain, and they're not accepting those reasons. So certainly support Councillor Fechner in his petition.
Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just concur with Councillor Ireland's comments and absolutely agree that suburbs within Division 3, like Redbank and Collingwood Park, somehow seem to be last on the list, certainly evidenced by the photos that residents are sending through.
Thank you. Councillor Kunzelman.
Likewise, Division 4, getting lots of comments from residents about overgrown grass, and they fear snakes and access issues and so on, as you'd expect.
I think we've had a lot of discussions as a council, and I thank Councillor Fechner for bringing this forward, because we've been swamped with requests from residents, with phone calls, emails, social media, asking for us to do this. And I think asking, the motion A is that the CEO be authorised to take immediate action to clear that backlog of overgrown council open spaces, making the required budget amendments. I understand the council officers are working very hard, and they work on a 9-week or a 6-week schedule. That's clearly not meeting the needs of the residents. It's clearly not meeting it. So we do need to change how things are happening. It happened last summer, it's happening this summer. And I'm just letting the residents know that we've heard loud and clear. So this motion that Councillor Fechner is putting forward is asking that a report be prepared, which includes an update on council's mowing activities over the 2021 summer season and how these activities compared to previous summers. The next part of that motion was that a number of complaints have been received by council about overgrown council open spaces. And that the report also give information on the number of council staff and contractors engaged to respond to the overgrown council open spaces over this last summer season, as well as provide us with options which may enhance council's response to the high growth periods during the consideration of seasonal variations in established mowing schedules, and then that be presented next month. And I do note the areas across all of Ipswich, but in particular I do see Redbank Plains, Wilbur Park and Collingwood Park, where I get the most number of complaints from residents, very worried about their kids and snakes and wildlife in the long grass. So thank you very much, Councillor Fichtner, for putting this forward. Councillor Madsen.
I just wanted to add that I think there's two clear points here that the public in Ipswich are pretty unhappy with it because they're worried about safety and safety of children, and I believe that's justified. And the other point is the community expects council to do better in this area. So I am very happy to support the motion before us, and I commend Councillor Fichtner for his great style in producing it, because we need to do better and we need to provide a safe environment for children.
Any other discussion?
Through
Yes,
you,
yes,
Chair.
Councillor Johnny.
Just wanted to thank Councillor Fichtner for bringing this motion to committee today. Speaking on behalf of our residents in Division 2, it's definitely required, so thank you.
Thank you very much. You're always very active with the residents, Councillor Fichtner, so thank you. There's no other discussion. I'll put the matter to the vote. Those in favour, please raise your hand. It's unanimous, and I think we're all looking forward to that report, and just letting residents know that we've heard you, we've listened to you, and we wait eagerly for the organisation to get back to us on how we can improve things. And that's the final matter for today. So I will now close the meeting at 9:26. And we have our 10-minute adjournment, so we're back here at 9:36 for the Governance and Transparency Committee.